Hello everyone. Today I'll be going over how to do the in-class practice that we had for lecture 5 on AutoCAD. So the first thing you need to do is open up AutoCAD and open up a new file. So we'll go to new. We'll start our new drawing file. And for this one, I'll start with the rectangle. So let's use that rectangle tool. My origin, I'll set it to 0, 0. And if I look at the dimensions on this drawing, it looks like this rectangle would be 210 wide by, I messed that up. That was 210 tall. So let's do 210. Okay, so I accidentally dimensioned this 210 units wide, when in reality it should be 480. So that's okay. I can fix that by adding a dimension, a linear dimension, and change this value to 480. Oops. Let's add a second dimension to this line as well and make it 480. Cool. Now, just for simplicity, I'll delete this one to just keep the top dimension, but now this is 480 by 210. Make sure you hit enter. And let me see if I can do something about these significant figures. Because right now we're going to 4 decimal places, which is unnecessary in this case. So I can go to dim style, modify. Let's go to our text. Um, or actually primary units. And then let's change this precision to, let's do whole numbers. And hit close. That might be for, that might be for annotation dimensions only. I don't know if parametric dimensions are the same. Let's see, we have parameters. That's fine. I'll leave it as is for now. But we have that basic rectangle, 210 by 480. Let's see, I can draw this second smaller rectangle that's on the inside. So I'll go back to home, or actually find my rectangle function again. And this first point on the left-hand side would be 35 units in the X direction and 26 units in the Y. So this point I can specify again to be 35 units in the X direction and 26 units in the Y direction. And this one wide would be 174. And then it is 48 units tall. So that's that second rectangle. I can also add in this circle. So let me draw my circle. Just for now, I'll place it in some arbitrary point. So if its diameter is 70 units, we know that if you divide that by 2 to get its radius, it would be 35 units, right? So we have a radius of 35. And then on this one, I want to again use my dimensions to make sure the hole is dimensioned to where I need it to be. So we'll go to parametric. I'll add another linear dimension from the circle, let's say to the origin based on the drawing, I know should be 289 units. See, I don't like how it did that. So let me hit Control Z to undo. Oops.
Okay.
Okay, so let's add some dimensions to that. Um, but this time, I want to try something different. When I do the dimension, I want to start at the origin, and now my second click would be on my circle. Again, this needs to be 289. And if you notice there, by clicking on the origin first and the circle second, now it moved my circle rather than the rest of my drawing, which is what I was going for there. So that's a little tip you can do. Let's add a second one again by clicking on where I'm going to dimension from, and then the circle second. This dimension needs to be for the height. So based on the drawing, it's 137 units. And just to make sure I have my right diameter, I can add that dimension as well. So we still are at a dimension of 70, which works for that. Now let's finish up the top part of the drawing. So let's see, let's go back to home. And this 210 in height marks this point here. So to get this distance, let me zoom in here. To get this distance here, I need to subtract 210 from, I'm sorry, yeah, 210 from 225, which would be 15 units. So let me draw a line. Starting at this point, go up 15 units. And so I'll join those. Can I join these? No, because this is one. Hmm. Let's see. I want to explode this rectangle. So I'm going to click on it, type in X for explode, and now they're individual line segments. So the reason I wanted to do that was because I wanted to join these two individual line segments into one. So using the join command, click on the first line segment, then the second, and hit enter. Now these two are one line segment. Let's see. Now we can draw from that point a line. So we'll do a line from this point over, and that would be 50 units, 50. We know we need to come back down to this second line, which what I could do, let's see, just for some visual, I could turn this into a blue line. So let's go to my settings. And I apologize if my workspace looks a little bit different. That's because I am split screening between the browser and AutoCAD, which is why these are all bunched up. But let's find our line properties, uh, which would be under this, layers. Hmm. Let me just full screen this really quick. So, okay. Uh, and I could change the color of it to some blue. And I could also change its line type to from a continuous line to a dotted line. To do that, I need to first load it in. So if I go to load, let's find we'll do this one for our construction lines. And then if I click on this now that it's added in, I can change that. However, that's too fine of a dotted line for this size of drawing. So what I could do there is go back and load in the same line type, but one that's larger. So center x2, center times 2 should be larger. So I've added that in. Go back to, and then change this to center times 2. Still maybe a little bit small. Let me see, what can I do about that? Hmm. Maybe, I don't know if I can make my own line type or if I can edit a current one. So that's already there. Can I maybe scale this up some? Hmm. I guess that's good enough. Just to give you guys a visual depiction of what we're doing with our lines. Using this as a construction line rather than an actual line for our drawing. Um, Let me go back to split screening. Nope, it's not what I wanted. Still not. 1 second. And all right, we're cool. Um, Again, so we'll go back into this portion of the drawing. I need a line from this point down to our construction line, which is 15 units. Now I need to go over 70 minus 50, which we know is 20 units. Back up another 15 units. Over, now we're doing 120 minus the 70, which is 50 units. Back down, back over 120 minus, I'm sorry, 140 minus 120, which is still 20. Up 15 units. Can use this point as a reference. And now back over 50 units because it's 190 minus 140, so 50. Back down to the reference line. Uh, is it over 20 again? Yep, so over 20, which is 210 minus 190. Back up 15. Back over 50. It looks like they're all the same. So back over 50. Down to the 15 units. And then over another 20. It's a little tedious here. Back up 15. And then over 304 minus 280. So 304 minus 280 is 24. And then I'll stop there. So this dimension is 15 by 60. And if I'm reading this correctly, that means that this is a height of 15 and that this angle here is 60 degrees. So what I could do, again, just for visual purposes, I'll make this let's see. If this was 50, right? This whole line originally was 50. We subtracted 24. I believe this should be 26. So I'll make this line 26 units and then that 15 down. And then what I want to do, again, just to make this a visual construction line, I'll change the line type and then I'll also change the color. And then if I connect these 2 points, right? Let me see, minimize. If I connect these two endpoints with the line, let me check my dimensions. So again, I believe this angle should be 60 degrees. Let me get a dimension between this line and this line. Oh, let's do an angular dimension actually. Angular dimension between these two. There's my 60 degrees. Right on. And now let's finish this up. Let's see, we can add this arc here. Um, we can use the arc or we can use a circle. So let's go to home. Or if we use our shortcuts, let's find the drawing for, I'm sorry, let's find the circle tool. This circle has a center, which from the origin is 435 units in the X direction and is 210 units in the Y. So the center for this would be, again, 435 in the X direction, 210 in the Y. Hit enter. And we know its radius is 45 units. However, if we simply snap into this endpoint, we can see that it is our 45 units. So we'll just click on that. And now I can do a final line between this endpoint and over to the circle. So from here, we could use our trim function or trim tool. We could trim this piece of the circle, which we no longer need. And finally, we can use a fillet function or fillet tool and then use or specify the radius has to be 30 units. Select my first line, select my second line. And if I'm not mistaken, that is that problem. Let me just double check everything. Yep, I believe that is problem number 1. For this homework assignment, to save these files, since the instructions do say to submit them as a PDF, what you could do is once you're done, go to Output, and we're looking for this export because we could export it as a PDF. Initially, this export option will be set up as display. I would recommend changing this to extents so it saves the PDF um, to the extent of our drawing. And if you want to know what that looks like before you print it out, you can always hit the preview, and the preview will show you what it's going to look like. So this is good. It's a decent size, fills up a good part of the page. So what you'll do is go to Export PDF and then name it as you will. I'll just leave it as drawing 1. But I recommend you guys save your work. Uh, let's see. We could do in class practice. I can spell. Practice. J and then my last name. Something like that. That way we can, or maybe let's do in class practice. Uh, do lecture 5. Lecture 5 in class practice, J Espinoza. Go to my downloads because this is where I want to save it. Save it there. And now just double check my PDF to make sure it looks right. And this is good. So I'll close that. Let's also rename this to contain the problem. Let's see, do problem 1. Okay. Uh, so if I could find my save buttons, which I can't, so I'll full screen this. I want to save this also to, I'm saving it to my downloads. You can save it uh, wherever works for you. You just copy the name there and save that. Again, so we'll minimize this. Cool, so now it's saved. And let me start a new file to do part number 2. So in part number 2, I'll be using this dotted line as a axis of symmetry, which I will line up with my y-axis in this case. So for me, personally, I would start my origin at this point here. So I'll begin with my lines. Let's say if I have a line at my origin, 0, 0, and I'll create this horizontal line first, so that is 78 units to the left. So there's my line, 78 units. Let's see, now I can create this. Uh, you could create the whole thing, uh, which is what I'll do. I think that should be easier. Again, I will use this axis as an axis of symmetry to maybe mirror over some of my work, which I think would be maybe more or less like this section. You don't have to mirror everything. You can just mirror certain parts. So I think it'll be easier if we just create this as a whole and then mirror the rest. Um, okay, so this one I'll use lines as well. Um, so let's see if I want to start at this, let's pick this point. This should be easy to pinpoint, this corner here. This corner would be 33 units from my origin to the right in the X direction and 55 units in the Y direction. So my coordinates would be 33 and 55 for X and Y respectively. If I want to start with this horizontal line, I know it's 33 units from here to the center. And if we're assuming that, again, this axis denotes symmetry, then it should also be 33 units from here to the opposite corner. So that would be 66 units total. Again, 33 from this corner to the center, and another 33 from that center to the corner. You need to go up 105 units. So 105. over another 66, and down 105. And let's see, I can add my fillets at this point. So let me go to fillet. Again, if I'm doing multiple fillets, there is a setting for that. Uh, by default, when you're using fillets, if you finished with one, the command ends and you have to open it back up again to do another. But in this case, I know I want to do 4 identical fillets. So before I do anything, let me hit multiple. And now I can specify my radius, which should be 20 units. And then now I can do all of my fillets back to back, which is nice. Hit enter when you're done. Okay, so we have this line, have the center portion. Let's work on these circles. So let me bring up a circle. Again, for now, I'll just drop it some arbitrary point. This radius, if the diameter for this inner circle is 40, that means its radius should be 20. So now we have that. Let's add again, a parametric dimension. So again, I want my circle to move, not the rest of my drawing. So first, I'll select my reference point and then select my circle. This dimension here needs to be 100 units. Nice. Do the same thing, reference point circle, but now this is the vertical dimension, which should be, let's see, 164 units. Cool, that looks good. Now let me add my second circle, which shares the same center as my first. So again, I could reference the same center point. And this one, if it has a diameter of 75, its radius would be half of that. So let me check. 37.5 units. Cool. Let's see, I need a line from, where's my line? There it is. So I need a line from this endpoint. And I don't know how long it should be, which is fine. I can just make it stop whenever it contacts the circle. And the reason I can do that is because I'm going to add a fillet here, right? So this total distance really doesn't matter to us. We don't need it. Let's do another fillet. Hit R for my radius, because this one should be a radius of 23. And now I can select my circle and my line to create that fillet. Oh, I also need another one down here, right? So these are a radius of 35. So again, I can use the space bar to bring up my most recent command, which was the fillet. Hit R again, because I need to re-enter a new radius. This one is 35. And then select the lines that I want. Okay, what's it telling me? This is the line. Is there a line still there? Yep. Okay, let's try this again. So we'll do a fillet. Radius should be 35, which it is. Seems I can't select. There is a line here. It seems I can't select it. Maybe because the dimension's in the way. Not too sure. I believe I can hide these, right? Yeah, so if I click on this button, I can hide all of my dimensions. So you can see my line's still there, right? Let's try this again. Let's do a fillet. Radius is 35, cool. First line, second line, perfect. All right, now I can mirror this part of the drawing over the y-axis. So as we did in class, use our mirror function. Select exactly what I want to mirror. Again, I don't have to mirror this part of it because I already created the whole thing, which is fine. Hit enter. Now it's asking me to specify the line or my axis, which I want to mirror about. So again, I want this to be my y-axis. So I can start at the origin and then make sure my line is vertical. The length doesn't matter as long as it's in the vertical direction. So at any point, you can just click as long as it's vertical. And then do we want to erase the source objects? In this instance, no. We want to keep both the left and right side. So no. Sweet. We're almost done. Now for the last arc on the top, this crosshair here marks the center point for this arc. However, we don't know where the center point's at. But by looking at this, we can tell that this arc is tangent to the circle at this point and at this point. And we're also given the radius, right? So if we go to home, let's find our circles. And we can do, with that information that we have, we can use a tangent radius circle. So click, it doesn't have to be exact, but you want to click somewhere in this general area to make our first tangent point. Same thing applies over here. Our second tangent point should be somewhere in this area. And then the third value we need to specify is our radius of 216. And then as you can see, it does the rest for us once you hit enter. So with this, we do have to trim, not a big deal. We'll use trim, we'll trim that. And that might be it. Let's see. Let me make sure I have everything done correctly. Believe it is done correctly. And just because this is all in, um, most of it's in individual segments, what you could do if you wanted to join these, if you hit join, highlighted your parts or your drawings, I mean, hit enter, and now the parts of it that can be joined are joined. Not all of them can be joined, but like this and this is. So again, let's save this. Let me full screen here for a second. Let's save this. And if I want to rename, this is a good tip. If I want to rename this similar to something else, if I click on this, it'll change my name to what this is, or the name of the file. So then all I have to do is go back here and change this from problem 1 to problem 2. Hit save. So now this is problem 2. It's saved. Again, go to output, change this to extents. Let's export this as a PDF. Same thing applies. Oh, it's already renamed. Cool. Save the PDF. And then just double check it to make sure everything looks fine. That's problem 2 and as a PDF. Yep, this is what I need. Right on. So let's close this. Minimize this window again. And then do our final problem number 3. So I haven't really looked at this one. We'll just do it as we go. This one, just by looking at it, I think this would be a good spot for my origin, the center of this circle. So that's what I use as my origin. So let's say we start with these two circles, right? So we'll use our circles again, use 0, 0 as the center. And our radius should be given to us. Let's see, in this case, let's say I don't want to do the math. Since the values are given to us in diameter, I can select diameter. And now the value I'm inputting is the diameter, right? So we know we have one circle at 80 units in diameter. Hit enter. Let me zoom out a little bit. Let me do another circle. Let's see, circle from that same center, right? From this origin, and this one has, again, a diameter of 105. Zoom out again a little bit. So those are my first two circles, right? Let's see from here, let's move over to this slotted region. So let me make another circle. I'm going to use a reference line here to make sure it's horizontal to my original circle. Um, just going to create it somewhere here. Let's see, this has a radius of 27 and a half. 27 and a half. And then let me dimension this. So this circle that I just made would be this one on the inside. Let me add that dimension. So parametric, let me add a dimension. Again, I want my circle to move, not my original. So if I click on this circle first and this one second, and then make sure this is 134, should move that second click or that second circle, which is good. Let me make another. See, that shares that same center. However, this one has a radius of 57 and a half, right? And if I add another, again, I'm going to use this reference line here to make sure we're horizontal. We know this one again needs to be 27 and a half, which is my small circle. Now I can again add a dimension from my reference. Oops, let's see. Dimension from my reference to my second circle so this is 100 units. 134, 100 units, and then my final circle for this section should share this same center, and it should have a radius of 57 and a half. Okay, so what I could do to create this slot region is use a line, and the lines, let's see, I'm missing a snap here for this one. I need quadrant. Cool. Quadrant snap is on. Actually, I'm missing a bunch of them too. I like to have midpoint. I like my center, quadrant, perpendicular and tangent. Those are nice. Those are good. Okay, so now I can lock onto this snap onto this quadrant, right? Create a line from this quadrant to this quadrant. Hit escape, do another line from this quadrant to this quadrant, escape again, and do the same thing for the outer circles, quadrant to quadrant, escape, another line, quadrant to quadrant. And from here, I'll trim all of the excess lines that I don't need, right? Don't need this, nor that, nor these two, nor these two. And then just to make sure I get all of it, and come in here, delete that portion, and then delete this little portion too. Which you could have also have trimmed, right? But just had to zoom in on that. Okay, so we have this slot, we have this center portion. We could do this angled slot. Let's see, and to do that, I will need some reference lines. They would help me. So again, let's create this line, this blue angled line that's at 40 degrees. So from my origin, I know I need a line. Its length isn't super important. It should be a number. Let's see, from here to here would be the radius of this circle, which is 173. And then from this center, another radius here. Let me do the math. 173 plus 32, or I can just add 57. Yeah, 173 plus 57 is 230. So this line just has to be somewhat greater than 30 to match this drawing. 250 will probably do, 250. And then hit tab so I can change this degree now to 40 degrees, this angle to 40 degrees. Just as I did before. Again, let me just full screen just for uh, a familiar view. Change this. Oh, it looks like I have to edit it again. So I'll go to other, load. Let me add my center times 2 line type. Let me change this to that line type now. And then also the color to denote that it's a reference line. All right. Let's see here. Cool. So I just created that line. And then let me also create this construction arc. Let's make an arc. Let's see what kind of arc types do we have. For this one, I know the center, I know the radius. So I could do something like center. Ooh, this is a good one. What can I use? Center start angle. Center start end, but I would need a start, which would be this point. So I guess I can make that line. Let me make this second bottom construction line. Um, so we'll do another line from this to, see, in this one should be probably the same length, but I want this point specifically. So that would be 173 units from the center to this point since it's one radius, right? So let me do this 173. And then just to extend it further, so it would look like in this drawing, we did 250 last time. So let's do another, this isn't too important, but doesn't have to be exact. Another 77 units. Another cool thing you could do is use what's called match properties. So in this case, I have one construction line and one actual line, and I want this to turn into a construction line, but if instead of changing the settings manually, if I use match properties, click on the first line you want to copy properties from, and then click on the line that you want to paste the properties to, I can easily copy over those properties. So let's make my construction arc. So again, if I go to arcs, in this case, I can use a center start end. So my center would be the origin. My start would be 173 units. So that'd be here. Then my end, again, we're just eyeballing it, should mm, be like 20 degrees, roughly 60 degrees. Again, let me use match properties to turn this into a construction line. Sweet. So now that I have these construction lines, I can create this angled slotted region. So let me start with a circle. So So I'll create a circle. At this intersection, I have a center for this inner circle, which has a radius of 32. Let me do another circle. At this intersection, I have another center. So this one again would have a radius of 32. And then from those same centers, I have, I wonder if I can offset that. How do you create these? Do we have a radius for these somewhere? Let's see, 32, 55. Let me think about this for a second. All right, so I took a look at this, and the way we can create this arc, these inner arcs, again, is with this circle, or you can do an arc as well. I like to use a circle. It's personal preference. And if I do my circle from the center or the origin to this intersection point between the construction line and the circle, you can see it creates uh, this arc here. So now I trim this piece. Um, and then let me show you how you could also use, let's try that with an arc. So I would have my center, I would have my start and my end. So I can do a center, start, end. My center would be the origin. My start would be this point, this intersection between the construction line and the circle. And my end would be the intersection of the next construction line with the circle. And again, I could just trim the inside. Don't need this anymore. So we can manually draw this second outer slot. However, I'll show you guys a shortcut. So what we could also do is first we need to join these pieces, right? This slot, join that as one. And now that that's joined and is one line, we can do what's called an offset. So if we select offset, we can find this offset distance because we know from this center to the outer point is 57. So if you subtract 57 minus this 32, that gives you 25 units. So we're going to have a 25 unit offset. Hit enter, select our object, and then offset that outwards in this case. And then we can very quickly create that second slot shape. So we're done with those two. See if we can't make this circle on the top side. So again, we have two circles. So again, let me just make a circle somewhere in this general region. Now this one should have a, let's see, a diameter of 65. Let's go back to our parametric dimensions from the origin to the center in the x direction should be 45 degrees. I'm sorry, 45 units. And then we'll do a second one again from this reference to this circle. Do we have its height? We do have its height. That is 135 units. Okay. And then let's add another circle from the same center of diameter 90. Cool. So we have those two made, these two, Let's see, let's add these arcs in between these. Me personally, in this case, let's see, we can do let's see if we could try something. Um, home or no, let's do, can I find those? I'm looking for a tangent radius. Let me try that here. So this looks to be tangent here and here. So roughly at this point, somewhere at this point, and our radius is 45. Sweet. Let's do the same thing. Another tangent radius circle. Tangent here. Radius of 105. Right? Cool. So trim here, trim there. That looks good to me. And then now all we need is this bottom portion. To do that first, we should create this tiny arc section. So that has a radius of 108. Where is its center? It's a great question. Don't believe it's the origin. I could try that. Let's try it out. When in doubt, try it out. So let's see, radius of 108. Yeah, that might be it. And then from here, I would make a line. I need this line to be tangent. Do I have my tangent snap on? I do. Oops, let me see, let me bring that back up. So I need this line to be tangent here and somewhere here. But as you can see, that tangent snap isn't coming up on its own. So if I write, nope, it's not what I want to do. Let's do line, specify first point. Have any other options? Nope. Let's figure this out. How can we make this line that's tangent? Can I right click? No. This isn't SolidWorks. But there should be a way to make this snap to be tangent. Maybe we should be able to override that somehow. Oh, object snap settings. All right, let me take a look at this and I'll come back. The more you know. So you do a line and then hold down shift and then right click. We want to make sure we're doing a tangent snap. So as you can see now, that tangent symbol shows up on the screen. So tangent there and do the same thing. We'll do a hold shift, right click, tangent snap. I want to be tangent to this guy. Cool. Let's do one more. So I want to make a line. Hold the shift key, right click, tangent to this guy. Same thing, hold shift, right click, tangent snap to this one. And then again, trim. So what I would do in this case, since we have a bunch of different intersections, instead of trimming one at a time, what I would do is I would trim from here, and then the rest of this, you can click on it and delete it altogether. That's how I would do that one. So let me double check this. It looks like I have everything for this problem. So one last time, go to output, change this to extents. Let's export this as a PDF. Problem number 3. I'm gonna save that. double check this to make sure it's good. Looks fine. Um, and just to make this, here's a little tip, just to make this, oh, actually, let me save this part file first. This drawing file, I mean. Downloads, documents, problem 3, save, cool. Um, to make the grader's job a little bit easier, what I would recommend, instead of turning in 3 individual PDF files, because then they have to download 3 files and open up 3 files, and then, when you talk about a class of 35 students, that adds up pretty quick. So we're trying to make things easy on the grader, right? I would use I would Google like a PDF combiner of some sorts. There's a bunch of free ones you could use. I like to use this one. It's called Small PDF. So what you do is you drop your files into that combiner. So you have problems 1, 2, and 3. Uh, Actually, let me make sure they're in order. Problems. So I'll do them individually just to make sure it's in order. Problem 1, then problem 2, then problem 3. Then problem 2, and then problem 3. All right, so once they're on there, we'll hit finish. Let's download the new PDF. Where are we? Downloads. Is it this one? Yeah. I don't know. Rename this to just that. Lecture 5 in class practice, and then your name. So if you take a look at this one, it's a single PDF file with all 3 problems. So this is what you would turn in. Um, we'll go back. That looks like we're done. Okay, just making sure. Yeah, that was a tutorial on how to do the in-class assignments. Hope that helps out. Thank you.